Okay, so today I'm going to start off my set of tutorials on graphing polynomials. So the first question is, what is a polynomial? The simplest one that you would have seen is things like where it goes y is equal to 1 plus x, y equals 1 plus x plus 2x squared. So basically that has something that has powers of x only, right? So this is the general form of writing it, a0 plus a1x times a2x squared and so on, where these a's are random numbers. Okay, so for example, something that isn't going to be a polynomial is to have y equals x squared plus sine x. I don't have so this doesn't have x to the power of term, so basically this is not a polynomial. Okay, so I hope you get the general gist of what a polynomial is. So what's the most simplest form of a polynomial? Well, the simplest form actually is the straight line, which you would have seen. But let's start talking about quadratics. All right, quadratics is something that has power of 2 as most. Right. So when we're talking power of polynomial, we're talking about the highest power. Sorry, the order means the highest power. So the order is 2 for this polynomial. Right, so it has the form 1 plus x squared plus 2x plus 1, and you can write anything you want to as long as the biggest power is 2. So that's a quadratic. Okay, so the first step, so since this is a graphing tutorial, let's get on to drawing y equals x squared. Right, so I want you to concentrate on this table right down at the bottom. Okay, so what I've done is I've used up, so don't worry about the graph for now. I used a few x values, -3, -2, -1, so all the way up to 3. And because what we're doing is plotting y equals x squared, what happens when I square x? So -3 squared is 9, -2 squared is 4, and so on. Okay, so if you can see, it's kind of symmetric about 0. Right, so 149, 149. So that's exactly what happens over here. About the y-axis, it's this curve, right, and it's symmetric. So with that's one property of the quadratics. It is symmetric about this line. Okay, and I don't want to say it's symmetric about the y-axis because it's not always the case, as you will see soon. Right. Okay, so the next step to do is, how do I draw y equals x squared plus 1? Now, if you think about this is simply the one above shifted up by exactly 1. Right, so I have my x squared, so y equals x squared is this part, right? Well, all of this, and then plus 1 to all of them. So what's going to happen is that this graph is simply shifted up by 1. Right, so all of the above graph was shifted up by 1, and that's all that happened. Right, and hopefully that makes sense. Now, okay, so this graph was shifted up by 1. Now we get to a point where it's going to shift left and right. So in this case, it's shifted right by 1. So we're thinking about y is equal to x minus 1 squared. Okay, now this is a bit more harder to visualize, but I'll show you the numbers and it should make sense. Now for this function, if I'm using 3 things: x minus 1 and y. So when x is -2, x minus 1 becomes -3, and -3, the entire thing squared becomes 9. So remember, the brackets are around the x minus 1, so -3 squared. So when x is -1, x minus 1 is -2, and that squared is 4. Okay, now you should start to see that these values 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4 are exactly the same values that we got up here. Okay, and the reason is but the thing is, when x is -3, it was 9. Over here, when x is -2, it's 9. So if you look at it, all the values are shifted 1 to the right. So when it's -2, it's 4 up here. When it's minus 1, it's 4 down here. So everything has shifted to the right. Okay, so if it's a minus value means shift to the right, running out of space here, and a positive value, so if I had x plus 1, it would mean shift to the left. Okay, and we'll stop the tutorial over there and we'll continue the rest of it next time. Thank you.